Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on what's the date, Richie Rich? July 26th. Yeah. Hey, you know what? The layout is not what I want it to be. How does it look for you?
It's good, side by side.
Not for me. I'm in the picture in the corner. What the? I won't say WTF out loud because I don't want to have to edit this out. But you know, like whenever I get on the show, my mouse stops working as soon as the camera starts, and I freak out. It's terrible. Okay, Richie Rich Rosen is back. He's been on literally a world tour for 3 weeks trying to pick up business in the jungles of Borneo, okay? And believe me, there's other successful people out there doing it with him, and he's made fantastic contacts. He just told me in the middle of a desert. Who would imagine that, okay? You got to spend money to make money, okay? And you can make money while you're having fun. That's what it says to me. Although I'm putting words in his mouth. I am twisting. I'm admitting I'm twisting what he says to suit myself because that's a lesson I took for what he says. Okay, but now I'm going to ask him for his input. When you go away for 3 whole weeks, what's it like coming back to work?
Honestly, it's been great. I fired a couple clients while I was on vacation. Sent them a nice picture of the Fiji sunset and said, as the sun sets, so does our relationship.
You're kidding. You tell us those stories. Why did you fire them?
I posted about it, I think, on Facebook, actually. This guy was just wasting time. Everything was a delay. There was no urgency in anything. I was just tired of it.
Tell me the details. I want it granular. Like, did you sent in a candidate and then they said, okay, we're in a big rush, and then they waited 3 weeks to see another candidate, or what happened?
Sent in candidates, they would go through the process, and then they would go dark for a week, which I don't put up with. I've dealt with this guy a few times in the past. He was a pain in the ass as a candidate when he was a rep, and now he's a pain in the ass as a sales leader. But he's it's a whole longer story. But he's an interesting guy, and he's very successful. But we got down an offer. He didn't want to make a proper offer, so we get another candidate in there. Figured he'd learn his lesson. And he was just wasting everyone's time. He would talk to this guy, and then he would wait another week, talk to this guy, and it was just week-long gaps between interviewing. And for startups, it's too long. I mean, there's one rep in the company. All right, that's how small this company is. So I'm like, either you want to hire or you don't want to hire.
You sent him an email from Borneo?
From Fiji.
Oh, Fiji. Okay. Yeah. And it was literally a picture of the sunset and said, "So long, buddy. I'm sailing."
Like, as the sun sets, so does our relationship. Like this. Wasting my time.
Oh, and what did he email back to you? So please, Rich, don't leave me. Don't leave me.
No, he emails back. He's like, why? And I'm like, well, because nothing's going. You're not moving forward. You're not doing anything. So it is a contingent search. I'm like, if you don't want to send the $10,000 check, there's no point in my wasting my time any further. We've got all these rock star cans in front of you, and you keep screwing up the deals. So,
Did you warn him? Did you tell him along the process, hey, this is not going right. We're going off the rails. Did you give him a clue?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't tell him I was going to cut him off, but I told him this is you're wasting my time, and you're wasting your own time, and you're wasting the candidate's time on how he's trying to push.
Yeah, it looks bad for you with the candidate experience as well, right? You told them it was a good job, and it's a screwed up company.
Yeah, well, especially when especially when your candidates are top candidates. You don't want to burn bridges with A players.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Rich. It's especially, not especially, okay? I need people on the show to present, you're representing me, okay? Say especially, okay?
Especially. Is that good?
Okay. Actually,
I learned how to say Melbourne properly, too. How do you say, Melbourne when you're in Australia? Everyone says it wrong.
Bro, how do they say it there?
People say Melbourne, not Melbourne.
They don't know how to talk. I learned that English people don't know how to talk either this week. This woman posts on Facebook, she says, I'm trying to choose a specialism. So, I thought maybe she's in Eastern Europe or something like that. I'm going to help her. I said, look, it's either a specialty or
specialist.
I can't remember the other term I gave her, but it's specialty. I said, it's not specialism. She said, I'm in England, and it's specialism here. And I looked it up on Google, and she's right. Really? But those guys in England, they say stuff like when they want to say the letter H, they say H. It sounds like they're ignorant, okay? Learn to speak English, okay? Like we do. Come on. Anyway, what's the other story? Now I'm going to have to edit that out. What's the other story about how did you get rid of the other client and why did you walk away from those foolish people?
What I mean, that's the main one. The other ones were just, the other clients were just, they kind of self-destroyed, basically self-destructed. One was I've just the tech market this year is a mess. Clients are the hiring managers are getting fired left and right. VPs of sales, CEOs. So I've probably lost more deals this year than I've lost in 5 years combined.
Rich, you're not answering the question, okay?
Well, I don't know what your question actually is.
Self-destroy. I like that. Hey, buddy, you're destroying yourself, okay? I'm going to use that. Well, how did they destroy?
Hang on. As far as what other clients I fired?
Yeah, you said you fired 2 clients while you were on vacation. You gave us a good story about one.
Yeah, I mean that was the better one. The other one I was just like, this is a waste of time. I was like, I'm done. It was the end of it. It was very simple. They would see candidates, they would waste their time. No one was ever good enough. The CEO would basically, the leadership team would love the guys, and then the CEO would be like, no, and we have no real reason why other than gut feel. So I'm like, this is a complete waste of time. And I've had go around with these guys before. I placed a bunch of people with them, but it just got to be like 5 in a row.
Strange that it worked out with a bunch of people, and then it
worked out with 3, and then I had 5 other deals go south.
5. Whoa! Yeah. You gave them a lot of rope.
Well, they're $50,000 fees. So for $50,000, I'll put up with extra.
$50,000. Okay, here. What do you think about this guy's experience and his advice? He says, I was speaking to a VP who was a prospective client. She didn't like my guarantee because, just like Rich Rosen, I don't give money back, okay? And she said it was important to her because the candidates she's hired from recruiters don't last very long. So I told her it sounds like she's got a serious turnover problem. She said no. So I said, well, it sounds like something's going wrong with your hiring process. She said no. She said, it's the candidates the recruiter sent me. So I told her, look, I don't select your hires, you do. Okay, so she kind of liked that, and she said she's going to give me a chance. But I said, hey, I got to think about it because she sounds like trouble, and working with bad clients never pays off. Okay, but here's the thing. Did she give him a lot of red flags that she doesn't know how to hire and she's going to blame the recruiter?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's more to the story that we don't know, but absolutely. If you've got a lot of turnover, why don't you got to find out why those candidates didn't work out? Why did she think it was the recruiter's fault? You may want to ask too, just out of curiosity. But I'd want to know why those guys didn't work out, and how many people she hired in the last year, how many worked out, and how many didn't work out, how many people she'd interview, But it's. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it's got a flag all over it.
Okay, so what you would normally say, quoting you in the past, because I know what you said, Rich, don't deny it. You said that's a job, that's an order for bottom feeders. Guys who are so desperate for any order, they'll grab foolishly at anything handed out to them when they should walk away. She's kryptonite. That's what you're going to say, right? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. I mean, again, it depends on, there's more to the story, but from that little snippet, I would say that it's probably, if they're starting off by blaming the recruiter for their hiring issue, that's a problem.
Okay. I don't know if this is one of your tools that you love, but this guy got in touch with me. We haven't spoken for some time because he left Facebook. His name is Chris Rivas. He's a nice guy. He seems like a nice guy. He's in Japan. He's a recruiter in Japan, and he wanted to know. See, there's something here's again in Japan. They've got a language issue. He calls an email scrubber, which over here means it goes through your database and gets rid of duplicates and dead emails. Yeah. Okay, that's what an email scrubber is. If you look on Google, that's what he said. That's what but in Japan, that's what they call an email scraper. Okay, that goes onto LinkedIn and takes out the email address that you can't see. He's using Rocket Reach to do that. Do you use any tools to scrape LinkedIn for email addresses?
I've used Rocket Reach in the past, but to find when you say scrape, like go through and automatically pull out like 50 people at a time.
I don't think he does it just for like you're looking at the profile of
standard email finder stuff.
Cellhack was the first one that did that. Do you remember that?
No, Connectifier.
They were the first ones.
They were the first ones. So I'm working with him with Chatterworks.
Same guy. Okay.
Yeah, Chatterworks. He's building out this whole process for Chatterworks, which I use that. I think it's pretty good. I use Lucia. I use Swordfish. I mean,
okay, that's what I told him. But those are your standard email contact finders. Is there something like a LinkedIn tool that does it specially? That he's like Rocket Reach. Is Rocket Reach just a contact email finder, or is it a scraper?
They're all I think they're just a contact finder.
Okay, how would you rate Rocket Reach for my friend Chris?
I haven't used it in a bit, but I don't use it regularly, so I don't think it's the best.
Okay, there you go, Chris.
But in all honesty, none of them are the best. You got to have 2 or 3 of them. So.
Okay. Yeah, but why is that? Since you said before they're all using the same database, okay? Why would some of them return different results than others?
Some of them may update more frequently, and there's like 2 main data sources from what I understand, and so you've got to try to figure out where they're pulling their data from, and a lot of times how they're doing it just somehow for whatever reason pulls out better data. Sometimes, like I said, some of it's just more updated.
Okay.
Some update on a quarterly basis, some update every month, some update every year. Some just steal the data, so it's better. So,
okay. And so, but you mentioned just for people who are confused, Lucia. You like Lucia. You like Chatterworks.
Mm-hmm.
What about Source Whale? Are you using that still?
Not so much. So the big 3 I use are Lucia, Chatterworks, and Swordfish.
Okay. What about this? This guy, Sean, he in his Calendly links, he asks the people, what's your favorite band? And he finds they like it. It's fun for them. When they sign up for their pick an interview time. What do you think of that?
I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, listen, people are going to answer it or not. Gives you a conversation, tells you, gives you a little insight into some people. The guy going to tell you his favorite band is like James Taylor, or is he going to say it's like, Metallica,
What if you don't like his band? You think they suck? Like,
listen, I don't know the names of most bands, so it's all right. So,
okay,
but I think it's not a bad idea.
I was quite intrigued by it, but I didn't think until a minute ago. What if I don't like his band? Okay, okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's all right. Unless he tells you he's like in some of these crazy punk rocker bands, but hey, that's their own choice, I suppose.
Okay. What about using ChatGPT to assess resumes?
Assess it in what way?
Okay. He says, drop a job. Okay. Oh, geez. Where did I say? I misplaced my note. Okay. I'll move on. Okay.
Yeah. ChatGPT, everything with ChatGPT is worth working on. It's, sometimes you just pop a resume in there and say, give me a summary of it for like bullet point, give me like 5 bullet points on this resume to present to a client, and it will give you a good write-up so you can just send it to a client.
Okay, this other guy, he puts job descriptions into ChatGPT, says, give me some good questions for an interview for candidates.
That's great if the guy doesn't know his space, if you're a new recruiter.
Okay. Okay, here's a guy. This is where you and I are going to clash, okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, he says, you know the song Regrets? I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. Remember Frank Sinatra? Yeah. My Way, okay? He says, one of my biggest mistakes was not nurturing long-term relationships. I was so focused on immediate gains that I let valuable professional connections slip away. Please don't be me. It sounds like he's in church and he was drinking.
You give him 5 Hail Marys and
yeah. Cultivate genuine connections and plan on staying in touch with your network over the years and decades. If you treat a network well, it will repay you many times over. A strong and supportive network can be the key to ongoing success in this business. Hey, he's missing the details. Okay, what value? I mean, what's he talking about? What kind of? They're going to give you referrals, I guess, or maybe orders. But what does he have to do in order to maintain contact? I mean, is it like putting, what band do you like in the calendar?
Well, don't you think? I mean, you gotta, you want to. It's hard in this business to stay in touch with everyone as much as you want. Am I too far away? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
it's the end of the day, you want to send an email out quarterly or something to your good clients, just so that you stay top of mind.
What's in that email?
I'm not great at it, to be honest with you. I'm a phone guy, so I just randomly will just call these people, or just send a funny joke, even sometimes if it's guys well, or just checking in and say, hey, what are you guys seeing in the market? Or you can say whatever, hey, how's the hiring coming? Did you ever hire? Sometimes you take a stab in the dark. Did you ever hire for the AE role? Whether they've got something or not, and then they'll sit back, oh, we don't have anything, or we just filled it, or we're going to have this thing popping in, so
welcome, David M. Marr. Welcome, David M. Marr. Okay,
it's not just a still image.
Okay, but this is I'm going to go to Rich first, and we can come to David M. Marr. This is a good follow-up question. Do people buy? Somebody says people buy from people they like. Okay, the people who have good people skills have a leg up. When I was an Army recruiter, this is where he came from. Personality was everything. He put everything in caps. He says, my enthusiasm, my passion, and my personality shine through my calls. Okay. First thought that comes to my mind is something I said to Tommy last week. I said, come on. I said, does that mean that cold fish can't be good recruiters? Because I don't believe that. I believe there's lots of cold fish who are big billers. Now, I don't know if they join the Pinnacle Society. Are there any cold fish in the Pinnacle Big Biller Society, Richie Rich? That's a no. You have to think about it. It's a no.
You got to think about it. It's a no. There's a few guys that everyone's pretty personable. Everyone's pretty personable.
But maybe the cold fish aren't going to join the Pinnacle Society, even if they're making double what you make. Isn't that a possibility?
I doubt it. I mean, okay. I mean, it's tough to be a Mr. Bland and boring be in this business. I mean,
it's not being bland and boring. You're delivering information like these guys who say they're not salespeople. I deliver information. This is the salary. What are you looking for? It's cut and dried. It's like visiting a doctor's office without any bedside manner, essentially.
That's not really recruiting, though. That's just giving you information. That's selling. That's telling. That's selling.
So these cold fish might be strong armors as well. They might say, "Hey, what? There's something wrong here. I'm not your buddy, okay?" But listen to what other people have said. Okay. This guy said, when I consider all the people who've tried to sell me stuff, the people who tried to get me to like them personally ended up putting me off. It's better to simply give the prospective client relevant information. Okay. And Mary said, I don't care what you did on your weekend. I just want to know what you're going to do for me. Okay. I'll give you one more. This likability garbage is what's wrong with recruiting. You don't need your clients to be your friends. You need them to trust that you can solve their hiring problems. I'm with him, okay? Because I don't have a personality. Okay.
We're all personality.
Richie Rich, do you want to rebut that guy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you don't have not every client's got to be your best friend, but you're going to do a lot better if they like you as a person. And it doesn't mean giving phony bullshit about what's their favorite band and stuff. It just means being real, being having some common interaction with the people, so they know you're on their side.
Okay, what proof do you have of that you're actually going to make more money if they like you?
I don't have analytical proof other than
it's just your hunch.
It's my hunch, and just knowing enough recruiters that the ones that are just bland and boring and are just telling you information without any personality behind it generally don't win the tougher deals, and they're generally not winning enough to to really worry about it. I'm sure. Listen, and I'm sure there's plenty of dead fish out there. I mean, we all know sales guys who have no personality, but yet somehow still make some money. But
Okay.
you know,
I'm gonna move to a guy who's not a live wire like you. Okay, David M. Marr. But let me call you, this guy has received so much praise on Facebook and from Ernie on this show. He is I'm positive, a marvelous recruiter and a marvelous sourcer as well. But you can see he's very different from Richie Rich. Okay. Not only that, he's primarily corporate. What do you think about that, David and Marr? Do you think you have to be buddy with the people you talk to deal with?
I think that in general, people will buy from people they like.
Mhm.
But I will caveat that I don't start off trying to be people's friends. I try to deliver useful information, aka baits, to get them to have a more deep dive, like to get their interest, and then to have a deeper discussion and conversation.
Give an example. Okay, what kind of bait are you talking
so
about?
If somebody's a software engineer and they want to work, and they have experience with a certain type of technology, and they want to work on the latest and greatest technology. I'll use the latest and greatest technology, the fact that our environment has that, as a means of like helping them.
How do you know in advance that they want to work on the latest and greatest?
There's technology I'm talking about, like latest technology. Like
I understand. Okay, well, you think I'm a dummy?
So I mean, you just know from knowing the space.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it's when I work for companies that have that as an advantage, I use that as the bait to pull in software engineers, and then from there, I earn their trust by having conversations and sharing useful information about the company. I don't ever put pressure on them, right? I want them to make the decision, because we're dealing with people's livelihoods, and my whole goal is to make sure that they have a the best candidate experience. And then I answer all the questions, and I work with them lock and step, as well as my other recruiting or hiring manager partners internally. That way,
Rich, does he sound like a cold fish, or he's not a cold fish?
No, you don't. But that's the thing. You make it sound like every call, it's like you're being Guy Smiley and telling them, I mean, like that's not what you need to do. I mean, even like personal, like guys like me who build rapport, it's not, you're not doing that at every call. You're just being real. You're giving them information, but you're doing it with a way where you're also building some kind of bond, hopefully, where these guys call you back, or it will trust you that you've got their best interest at heart.
And whether you're an agency or corporate, or dealing with candidates or prospective clients / hiring managers, you're always seed planning for relationships.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what you do. You
plant seeds. What?
You're planting seeds. You're emails, connections, outreaches, little voicemails, whatever.
You want to be the guy they're going to call when they've got a good friend for a job. Like,
if you share useful, like if you're an industry expert and you're sharing, hey, this is what's happening in the industry, those kind of things that I've seen from agencies, I've seen many hiring managers call back those recruiting firms that specialize in a niche.
Yeah, that's why being a generalist is horrible.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Wasting
time.
Okay, but these little voicemails and things that you mentioned, are they just like chatty things, or are they related to a search you're on?
It's a consistent. It depends on what your strategy or cadence is, but it's basically consistency. Like, hey, just checking in with you. Don't know if timing's good for you. If you're looking to make a move, I know last time we spoke, you were working on a project that you thought would be finished about this time. Let me know, would love to chat, whatever.
Okay, hold on. But you only do that when you're working on a search. You don't have a list of people that you call regularly just to maintain contact with them. Is that what you're saying? I don't understand.
No, I do have a regular list of people that I keep in touch with when I'm doing sourcing.
Audience who's not really there, you can thank me. You can thank me for trying to drag this information. Everybody who talks in generalities, you got to drag that information out. Oh, I leave voicemails. What's the context? Okay. Don't just tell me something that I don't understand. And you know what? You reminded me of the Tony Bennett song. I want to be around. Well, I can't remember. You know what? I used to go to Starbucks every morning, and about 10 years ago, maybe longer, they were playing that Tony Bennett American Songbook. And I'd never listened to him before, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So I bought it for my dad. Tony Bennett. But I remember that song. I want to be. I'm going to look it up after the show. Anybody else want to talk about anything else about being likable? Rich is trying to be likable. You try to be serviceable. Okay, something like that. Okay?
The same way. I mean, everyone wants to be likable, but you think there's some magic bullshit you're putting onto the emails and calls. My emails are super blunt and basic. They're very short.
Yep. Agreed.
They're not like guy smiley sales emails. Like, it's being again. You always want these black and white answers, and they don't exist in recruiting.
Yeah.
Okay. There's
you know what? When you give a black and white answer, you can understand and make an adjustment in your own head. It always doesn't fit 100%, but most of the time, that's what we're looking for. Probabilities, okay? Most of the time.
But there's no black and white in recruiting.
But when these guys want to dodge, they'll pick out these, these cases, these rare cases, and say, as if you can't ever tell. Yeah, you can tell most of the time. Okay.
You can't.
Is that the Tony Bennett song, David
Yes,
Marr? I want to be around. You looked it up in the lyrics for me. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Here's a question. This recruiter wants to work from the beach. She's 100% remote. Here's the first thing. She's an idiot. She tells her boss that she's going to spend 2 weeks at the beach. Okay. What difference does it make to the boss? The boss says, no, you can't do that. He's an idiot as well. How's he going to know? How's he going to know?
I mean, seriously, unless if he's paying her a salary, I suppose. But if he's a commission only, I mean, that's on her.
Not even that. She's on salary. Okay, let's say she's an in-house source or a recruiter. She's in a beach house. How's he going to know? Is he going to say, put your camera on? I want to see what's behind you. Okay. I mean, and what does he care? That's what they say. Don't give people more information than they need because they'll use it against you. Anybody else want to comment on that? How should she handle it? I say she should go to the beach anyway and tell him, buzz off. You're not running my life.
You know what? It depends on the relationship, but in general, I focus on deliverables. If someone's delivering what they need to, then has the results, who cares where they work from? They can work from a garbage can, who cares?
I'm going to go ahead. Anybody else? I'm in agreement with that. Agreement is another dumb word. Maybe they use it in England. I don't know. But I heard someone say it once. I heard someone say it on the Howard Stern show. I don't know, a zillion years ago. I'm in agreement with that, and I've used it ever since. Just because it's funny. When I use wrong language, I'm being ironic, okay? Just so everyone knows. When I say H, I don't think it's the right way to say it, okay? When I say specialism, I know it's the wrong word. I don't care what they use over there, okay? What about this? Do you recruit? It's another one. This fits. I got a lot of them that fit right with each other today. Do your rejected candidates like you? If you're recruiting properly, they should, okay? Because their word of mouth is going to count.
Agree.
You agree on that? So how do you make sure that your rejected candidates like you?
Because it's all about candidate experience. If I have a conversation with a candidate, and I have I've invested a relationship or a little bit of time with them, and they're not a fit, I'm going to tell them, hey, or call them if it's something that I'm waiting on feedback from somebody. But usually I'll know on the call, hey, you're not fit for this role. Think you got a great background. Would love to keep in touch, or here's some
baloney. So if you send in 3 candidates, you expect them all to get the job? You know, 2 of them are not going to get the job.
Yeah, but you still sending over, if you interview 20 people, right? You're sending over the best 3 to 5 candidates top.
Yeah, so you don't know on the first conversation that the good candidates are not going to get accepted. There may be 3 great candidates, and who knows why the hiring manager picks one of them. Don't say I know from the start, and I never have a rejection problem. I reject them personally.
You
think for a minute. I'm going to go to Rich.
Logic there.
Rich,
my head hurts.
Rich, your candidate. Okay, you told us the story at the start of the show. You're dealing with your foolish client. You send him 2 great candidates. He drags his feet on the process. He rejects them both. Okay, what do you say? And we had an issue. We raised the issue. What do you say to those guys so it doesn't look bad for you? Oh, Rich Rosen, that guy has the lousiest clients. I'm never going to work with him again. Guy, dragged it out for a month, and I'm waiting for a response. I didn't hear anything. Well, how do you make sure, Rich, when you're dealing with, clients who are untrustworthy sometimes or unreliable, how do you make sure that the rejected candidates like you?
Because I tell them the truth. I'm like, listen, like I said this yesterday. The CEO is a little crazy. He picks people at random who he likes and has got an issue right now trusting his lieutenants. I mean, listen, I'm not going to blow my reputation because of a shitty client.
You already did, Rich, because you sent me out to a company that wasn't, the greatest. They're run by a nut. Okay.
Well, and that's what it turns out from an interview. How people hire and how they run a company aren't always the same. It's an indicator, but it's not always true. But the end of the day is the candidates, they like the opportunity. They're disappointed they didn't get it. Most of my clients realize, listen, you only have so much sway and control over it. And sometimes you're not going to talk a crazy engineer off the ledge, that's running a company. He's going to make his decision and disregard his team. And what are you going to do?
Okay. Now I'll come back to David M. Marr. Okay, he says he can tell right away on the first call if someone's suitable or not. Okay, so what do you tell them? Hey, you seem like a nice guy, but you're not good for this job. Is that what you say?
No, so you didn't understand what I said.
I guess not. Okay, I'm giving you another chance.
So nobody knows who ultimately is going to be hired. What our job is to assess the candidates that we've identified and or have.
I'll tell you something. I know. Okay. And when the client chooses the wrong person, I get scared. But go ahead.
So my job is to make sure that the candidates that we're engaging with have a positive candidate experience all the way through the process. So with that knowledge in the background, if I have 20 candidates I'm screening, after I've completed the screens, I'm going to know who the top 3 to 5 candidates are from that list. If any of the candidates that I'm talking to through the interviews are clearly not a fit for the role based upon the required skills, like they don't have something that's required, I'm going to let them know, hey, this is a required skill at present with this job.
Okay, it's not always as cut and dried as that. So you rule them out just based on
the corporate side. It is because there's compliance, and if, for example, if a company does business with the government, there's basic qualifications or minimum qualifications that a candidate has to meet at a minimum to be able to receive consideration for the role. So if they don't have that.
Okay, next question. Hold on. So you might have seen this week that our good friend Amy said she got yelled at because she took the time to give concrete in-person information to a rejected candidate, and he got mad at her and yelled at her. Okay. Does that ever happen to you when you say, listen, Billy, okay, you're not strong enough in this skill number X? Does he ever say, Dave, you are a big dope. Can't you see that I've really got this?
Yes, I have had people yell at me, but I keep my composure, and I know that they're just frustrated with the outcome. And I've been there because I'm still technically in the interviewing stage right now, and I've been rejected by a lot of places, and it's frustrating.
And do you yell at them?
I don't.
Do you ever yell at the kid?
No, I don't. That's a moment of weakness, and if you can't control your emotions, you're not going to do well in the corporate world.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. This guys get mad at you. They're striking out for sure.
Yes.
For personality, if nothing else, right?
Right there, that's an indication on the back end that they're not going to be someone that you'll reach out to in the future.
Yeah, you say, look, I know you're just proving to me that you're a jerk. I would never hire you, even if you had 100% of what I was looking for.
Yeah, and a lot of times people may think that they have more abilities and talents than they really do. Because, for example, in technology, it doesn't matter necessarily if someone has 6 months experience or 20 years experience. What matters is their proficiency and competence with the language and what they can do with it. And some of that you can't assess through you can get an idea about it, right? And it's the odds would be if somebody with 20 years experience is going to be able to beat someone with 6 months experience or be more skilled, but it's not always the case.
Okay, can I compliment you on something today, David M. Marr?
What's that?
Your face is in the center of the screen. It's unbelievable. The guy's always usually way down here, right? I have to beg him.
Rocking chair.
I have to beg him. Okay, so something is going good. Rich today has been like this the whole show, and now he's screwed off. Okay,
now his dog's his
busy. Yeah, his dog is there. I heard the dog barking in the background. I didn't want to mention it, but I wonder
where's Ernie been?
I don't know. He's busy with Ben Mina. He's got a show as well.
What about Mario?
Mario, every week he sees the show posted and says, "Oh, I missed it again. I'm going to be there for next week for sure." But that guy's got an excuse. He's on the other side of the world. Yeah. There's a huge time difference. Okay, it's like 9:30 or 10 o'clock there already. Last week, Dimple dropped in at the beginning of the show just to say hi. She was cooking dinner. It was 9:30 at night. Okay. But what about the rule? Going back to Amy's situation, doesn't that prove never? Gotta laugh sometimes. Never. I never would have believed this in the past. Okay, but I think it's true now. Never give detailed feedback. You're just looking for these guys to argue with you, and they think they know more because they're practitioners. You're just a recruiter.
Yeah, I mean, I try to give, again, general information. A lot of times you can't get too granular because for legal reasons.
So look, I complimented the guy. Now he's moved his head down so I can see more of his ceiling. Thanks. It's great. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, baby. Okay. Okay. What about, let's make a twist on that. What about getting detailed information from the hiring manager? That's always a problem as well. Look,
Yeah, that can be a challenge, especially if they had one candidate that really interviewed extremely well. Even though they've gone through, anti-bias training in a lot of cases, there's usually one candidate when they interview that just really stands out. And all the other candidates, you'll see afterward sometimes that they'll interview them the same, but the feedback
so you mean a chemistry issue?
Yeah, like somebody just really the hiring manager knows that they want to hire that person, but they still have to complete all the interviews.
Based on what? Personal chemistry they like the guy?
Well, based upon skill and how the candidate interviewed.
What is it about the interview as opposed to skill?
Where do the candidate really impress them with their abilities during the interviewing process? Like demonstration of proficiency in whatever the practitioner.
Okay, so that person has more skill. Is that? Look how I have to drag it out of them. The person has more skill.
My terminology. I speak text, so
yeah, the person has more skill, and that's demonstrated.
Like they're a competent practitioner of software engineering.
So is the hiring manager going to come back and tell you, look, Dave, this person in the interview just blew me away. He just had such a command of his field, whereas Billy Joe was also good, but not the same. I mean, he just didn't have the speed. I mean, and the breadth when in his conversation about the issues, it wasn't the same. Is that the kind of information? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Sometimes they'll.
Will you go ahead? Sorry.
Sometimes there'll be a clear, if someone doesn't interview well, and they're a clear no, you usually hear that immediately, or really within a short period of time. But because they have to complete all the interviews, they're basically trying to capture using the same interviewing questions and same interviewing process to be able to fairly assess all the candidates. And then they rank them basically, usually during what they call a debrief, where all the interviewing panel will come together and they'll basically talk through the candidates, how they align with the core competencies of the position based upon the job description and the way it's been set up. And then they basically vote, and it's yes or no.
Okay, but you know what? Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm beating one to death, but I'm trying to get the information I want. You are talking to some extent about an intangible, the way the interview is, the way the person talks during the interview. At least it sounds like that to me.
Communication skills are a huge part of it. But
let's just stop it right there. Would you ever go back to the rejected candidate, since that's what this is about, and say, look, somebody else had better communication skills than you. Yeah, you've got great knowledge about X, Y, Z.
Well,
she carried on a better conversation than you.
I would say, hey, H, your specialism isn't as good as the candidate that was selected. Or I'd say, hey, the hiring manager enjoyed the conversation with you, thought you had a great experience, but there was a candidate that interviewed a little bit more impressed them, and that's who they selected for this role.
Okay, something vague, but you wouldn't tell them what impressed. What if they say, Dave, what impressed the hiring manager more? I want to know for the future.
If they said their coding skills, hey, their coding skills.
Hey, yeah, I guess so. You're breaking it down, even if it's something that's not on paper. You're breaking it down to some skill issue. That's what you break it down to, okay?
Yeah, or a reason. I mean, like if somebody says culture fit, like that's like a horrible an excuse, or overqualified. If somebody, it's not about that. It's about, and sometimes as a recruiter, you have to push back on the hiring managers to help guide them to not make biased or bad hiring decisions.
Okay. What you described was not biased. If someone can have a great conversation with you about their specialty that shows that they're very quick, they not only know it, but they pick things up quickly. That's an indicator of that. We're talking about a real skill, a mental ability. Okay, I'm moving on. Okay, let me see. Build your brand. This is related. Candidates are doing more research than ever on your team before they answer or reply to a recruiter's message. Okay, this is why you need a social media strategy. Ask yourself, every recruiter should have a day. Not really ask yourself. Remember, every recruiter should have a daily activity goal for LinkedIn or whichever platforms your candidates spend time on. Make sure the recruiters on your team spend time telling people who they are, so that their market will know before you try to recruit them. You know what? Let me edit this out. I'm going to redo that. Let me see. Okay. Candidates are doing more research, Dave, than ever before on the recruiters before they reply to a recruiter's message. That's why every recruiter, it's not my idea, but this is somebody's idea. Every recruiter needs a good social media strategy. Every recruiter should have a daily activity goal for LinkedIn or whichever platforms his candidates spend time on. Make sure that people know who you are before you try to recruit them. This will give you a massive opportunity to stand out from your competition. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good idea. I mean,
do you do it? Yeah. I don't see tons of stuff from you. Maybe
LinkedIn doesn't on LinkedIn. And,
well, how come I'm not seeing it? Sometimes I see you if you like somebody's
stuff. For example, what I'm doing right now is I'm sharing, at least on a weekly or bi-weekly or sometimes 3 times weekly basis, I'm sharing a lot of job leads and useful information to my fellow recruiting peers that are all impacted, and trying to help us all get back to work. So I've heard.
How does that help? How does that help you get hired? One of these people get hired.
It's paying it forward. It's taking the time, knowing that I'm only going to get hired for one position, right? And there's a lot of positions I'm finding, and people are at all different stages and skill sets, right? And the companies are ultimately going to hire who they're going to hire. So for me not to share that information, because using my skills and finding and being able to find the job leads that other people can't find, it's resulted in at least a few people getting hired, and I know a bunch of people told me they got interviews from it. So it's working, and I'm helping people, give them hope and give them.
So you're building relationships.
Yes, but there's other people that are doing things in their own different way. So that's kind of what I do, because that's the gift of mine.
Well, let me ask something else. Why don't you demonstrate your ability, your recruiting abilities? Or maybe you're doing that by finding these job opportunities that other people don't know. Okay.
Word of mouth, I think, is more important. Like when people know my name and know my brand and what I do, you can read through my LinkedIn profile and see all my recommendations. That's all. I mean, if you need more information from there, you can ask me. But beyond that, it's my resume and.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Say, how come you're not teaching people how to use ChatGPT for recruiting? Stuff like that.
I am involved with trainings. I've done some trainings for.
In your postings on LinkedIn.
Because it's not something that I want to.
Okay, you're okay. This is your school. Okay, it took me a while, but you do what is natural for you. You enjoy doing this, just like I enjoy doing the show.
Yeah,
but
I enjoy helping people. So it's
but the show doesn't. The show doesn't help anybody because nobody watches. It helps me.
Sure it does.
Okay,
It's
helps.
it's a fun place to debate the topics.
It helps us.
Yeah.
I like it. The people who come here like it. But my point is that doing what you like doesn't always make you money or pay off in any material way.
Sure it does. I mean, if you the same way, if you're a niche recruiter in the agency side and you have insights because you're interviewing, hundreds or thousands of people, you can see the trends and what's happening in that industry. And you could put together like a newsletter that you send out once a month or once a quarter or whatever that helps clearly educate your potential or current or future prospective clients about what's happening.
Okay, and you think we know more than those clients know about their own field?
Yeah, in a lot of cases, for sure, I do, because you get to talk to so many people. I can recall when I was in my agency, and I started in IT, like I had a huge command of what's happening in the IT sector in the greater Chicago market, simply because of talking to so many people.
Okay. I'm winding down now, but I've got a few questions that I'm going to actually use again in the future. But here, this is kind of dull. Maybe it's dull, but I'm kind of interested. These are killer questions for your hiring manager during an intake session. Is that something you'd like to hear about?
Sure.
Okay. Number one, this is not for internal. Maybe you worked at company ABC for 5 years before you came here. What did you see that made you want to come here for an interview? Is that is a hiring manager going to like to hear that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a question that can have some validity, but I wouldn't say that.
Okay, well, actually, I picked it up. People were saying a candidate should ask the recruiter that.
It could be a good question from the other side, yeah. So from a candidate perspective.
Okay, I don't see the difference. Okay, what about this one? How would you know if the new hire is meeting expectations after 1 year? Do you think the hiring manager is actually thinking that far ahead? I don't.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say probably not.
Okay. What about this one? Are there goals that you want to see this person reach in the first 30, 60, or 90 days? Do you think the hiring manager has somehow articulated that into concrete terms?
I don't think the hiring manager necessarily creates it. I think that's part of what the workforce planning teams do internally, that kind of sector out what the skills or core competencies that they want in that specific position are.
No, but with the output, you're measuring the performance, not the skills.
Yeah, the results.
Yeah.
So the results that they demonstrate will articulate the.
And the hiring manager won't know what she wants to see.
Not necessarily.
Okay. What about this? There's two more. What are some projects that the company is currently working on, and what role would the new hire have in them? Is that a reasonable question? It sounds like it to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. And what metrics do you use to measure performance in this role?
That's a great question. Especially, that's a question I'm asking when I'm interviewing right now.
Okay. And do they know? Do they know how to answer that?
Yeah,
question?
A lot of times you're able to get like a good understanding because, like when you have a lot of experience, right? You know how different environments work, and you know what you've worked on in the past, and getting an understanding of kind of like a lay of the land in that company, in that department, I think is very valuable because it's going to make sure that that you're avoiding places that don't jive with how you like to work, right? Like it's a micromanagement environment, or if it's an entirely hands-off.
Let me ask you this: the next little bit that you're here, how do you know if you're a recruiter going out interviewing for jobs like you are? How can you tell if it's a management situation or not? You ask the person, "Hey, Billy, are you a micromanager? Are you looking over my shoulder every minute of the day?"
Because if you don't have the freedom and flexibility, and they don't trust you as a like if the decision-making process is so like regimented that, oh, I can't do that, I got to ask my boss, and that kind of thing, just to do something really basic that I would do anyway. That's
how do you figure that out? Do you say, look,
by asking questions about their processes, their systems, the tools they use.
Well, tell me something a question you would ask.
Okay.
Or it sounds
What
like
process? What does
Yeah.
your recruiting process look like?
Uh-huh.
What are your recruiting workflows? How is your ATS structured? What is
Okay, but tell me what someone
culture?
has answered those questions that you said this is a micromanagement situation. I don't want to work here.
So if let's say a question around the ATS and their recruiting processes, and they say something like, yeah, we have this ATS system, and our typical company culture and process is that we follow these steps here, and we have to do everything by these steps. And anytime people have new ideas about innovation, that we have to get senior leadership's approval to do anything.
What kind of ideas? So radical. No company's going to let someone go off on a
if you wanted
pen.
Okay, like in my case, I know tons of tools and things that can solve problems that exist in the corporate world, but companies are so regimented, and certain industries are so locked down by compliance that they prevent a lot of the tools that really are robust from being utilized. Such as Seek Out, such as Hire Easy, such as Loxo, because there's a huge layer of approval.
Okay, but they don't have the budget for it necessarily, right?
No, it's about security, and it's about a lot of red tape, basically red tape.
Okay, I remember there was a big movement. There was a big movement for a while about every different department using their own software without confirming it with the IT director. Okay, you don't like that. Is that what you're saying? Would that be a red flag for you?
Not necessarily. It's about the red tape. Like if for me to do something basic that I should be able to do without, as a trusted employee, without having to get all this crazy approval, especially if there's not a nominal cost.
Have you ever told someone, look, this is a bit too rigid for me. I don't like all these requirements for approval. And they say, well, look, Dave, you sound like a guy who doesn't like to follow the rules.
No, I mean, I'll play by the rules, but it's just knowing that up front allows me to avoid those environments.
How do you discover that up front? By asking about the process, right? Yeah. And then you discern it. But you don't tell them. You don't say, hey, I see a red flag.
I don't hit them over the head with it. I ask them questions to probe. When you're interviewing the company just as much as they're interviewing you. Uh-huh. So if you don't have questions that are going to weed out companies, then you're not, and you should be doing your homework beforehand.
Okay, but what if somebody says something like that, and you say, look, Sherry, I don't think this is working that well for you. We could do it better this way. And this is how we worked at someplace else that I worked at. It was great. Would you consider giving this a try if I came aboard? Would you actually say, I'm an innovator? You could build on my past
that
experience?
is something I do, because that is something that I would say is with my case. And
okay, wouldn't they say, hey, no, it's not going to work here. You can't come in the door and expect us to change everything to suit you. Isn't that more likely?
It's probably not a place I would work.
Okay, but you'll tell them right away that this is how you like to work, and you can see right away.
I feel out the management style and kind of how they approach things, and use their answers to discern.
Okay, so it's still close to your chest. You don't say, look, I'm rejecting you for this reason.
No, I don't.
Have you ever got an offer and rejected it? Is that a fair question? And did they say, Dave, why don't you want to join? What happens?
I just say I got a different offer.
Okay. Nobody tells the truth. It's just like when you're at a networking event and you say you want to break off.
You don't want to burn bridges, and you don't want to come up. You don't want to use brute force, and
It's like being at a party. You want to ditch the person you're talking to.
Politics.
And you say, I gotta go to the washroom. Oh, I'm gonna refresh my drink. Okay, not like, okay, I've pumped you for all the information. I got nothing else to talk about with you. But Dave, I did enjoy having you come here. I didn't like the fact that once I thanked you for being in the center of the screen, you started going all over. David M. Marr, everybody. He's got a very good reputation. These hijinks, he won't do that when you hire him. He's a super recruiter and a super sourcer as well. Rich Rosen, thanks for coming on. Anything you want to say, Dave? Parting words?
Good luck in the interviews.
Thanks. Bye-bye.